Hello, David here, and currently at the natural habitat of a GT40 for the street called the gas station. But I would say out of all the vintage cars that I've always admired growing up, this has always been the one.
Only in my dreams have I seen things as beautiful as this.
Out of all of them, Mustangs, Camaros, Barracudas, all that stuff, this was just always on a whole different level. I'm very excited. Huge thanks to Eric, who owns this car. He was kind enough to let me rip this around town real quick and let me drive my dream vintage car. But not only that, this is by Superformance, and this was sold by Downforce Motorsports. They are a dealer of Superformance. It's not a kit car. What it is they take the original moldings and the original metal and all that stuff, Shelby approves it, and then they build these cars. So they are to the spec of the original ones, which is really, really neat. And if you got in it, to the untrained eye, it's an original GT40. GT40, 40 being 40 inches tall, and that's why it's called GT40. First impression, sitting in the car, the pedals are very strange because never in my life did I think that I would have too big of feet to drive something. I know, nice, right? Basically, you have two pedals here, and then you have the gas pedal that's up here. It's also got a Quaife 5-speed transmission. Essentially, after that, you go second here, which is up here, and then third is down here. There's a little bit of a learning curve, getting around town, getting around and understanding the dynamics of the car. Other than that, it's a riot. All right, so finally, got some gas in it, driving it around. It is such an emotional experience for me. This is one of my dream cars of all time. 1965, Mark I Ford GT40. It's got the Mark II taillights, and it's also got a 363 small block, but it's stroked. So it's a stroker, making 530 horsepower. It's also got the 5-speed like I told you about, but it's got a dog leg in it, so it's a little bit of a user-friendly error when you first get in the car. But other than that, once you're in second, once you're in third, it's good to go. Just like that. Oh yeah, also you can fill up the gas tank from both sides. Fun fact. Yeah, it doesn't get better than that. Also, it's got the 180-degree headers on it, which are nicknamed the Bundle of Snakes, which is highly appropriate for a Shelby. Get it? Bundle of Snakes come right around. The fit and finish of the small block is incredible because a lot of people do Coyotes in these. They do a lot of different motors in these, but it really does seem at home when you put something like this in it because it feels more original. You get the ITB sticking up, but it also runs on a Holley ECU, which is great, and it still is carbureted. Let's be honest here, this is full race car for the street. And we got plexiglass windows right here. The door is as light as possible. When you try to open these things, you think you're gonna have to put more force on it, and you just don't have to. At the same time, removable steering wheel. Once you're in the car, it feels really great. And also, if you're riding with somebody, they're gonna be your best friend. You better be comfortable with that. But what I really like about it is typically when I review cars, I get used to it, I baby into it, I lean and squeeze into it, and then I level myself up. The cool thing about this is that you basically have steamrollers in the back and small tires up or smaller tires up front, and it just hooks and goes. And it is an absolute monster of a car sound-wise. Oh my God. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Yep, I see why this one races. That's a bucket list moment, just now. So, another fun thing about the car. This is actually a Ken Miles edition in the livery of Ken Miles. This car was the first GT40 that won a race. I'll just maybe it under this tunnel because, yeah. I think the most impressive thing is with its suspension. But when it comes to the physical car, it drives wonderful. Like, I'm really impressed that I'm having a good time. I don't feel too nervous about it, but you make everybody's day. Everyone's freaking out. The color on this car is just phenomenal. And with it being the Ken Miles edition, it's the one that started it all. I don't know, I'm kind of speechless. It's got the original style wheels on it, which are nicknamed the wine glass wheels. So when you look at it from this side at just the right angle, and your brain does the whole like, are you left brain or right brain? You know, you look at it and you see these little wine glass shapes, but it also has an old school style wheel lock on it. So first off, it must have made pit stops miserable. That's the way I look at it. So you have a little kind of like cotter pin, kind of bungee cord type thing. You pull that off, and then you take a lead hammer, which, by the way, the lead hammer is soft enough so that way you don't hurt the wheel. You hit that off, and then you wind it off, and then you take the wheel off. So, but if you use the lead hammers long enough, you send the hammer back, they remachine it to reshape it, and then you get it back over time if you're part of a race team with one of these. Ford completely screwed up by doing a brand called Edsel. Edsel completely flopped. They basically lost the equivalent of $1 billion in today's money. Or Henry Ford II goes, well crap, now what? Lee Iacocca shows up, goes, hey man, we need to go racing to be cool again. Well then they go, I know the perfect guy. So then they decide to try and buy Ferrari. The deal for Ferrari, let's be honest, was not very good because he pretty much lost all control of his company. So by doing that, it offended Ferrari, and then Enzo said very, very mean things to Mr. Ford, and then Ford essentially wrote a blank check and said, we need to beat them at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Wrote the blank check. The first GT40s were competitive, but they broke. That was the issue, but they went 200 miles an hour on basically their first go at Le Mans, and that pretty much scared the bejesus out of Enzo Ferrari, which is really great. But with some R&D, with some endurance testing, breaking transmissions, breaking engines, getting to that perfect sweet spot, they finally came up with the GT40, Mark 1, Mark 2, stuff like that. This, to me, is like a really good compromise because you get the rawness of a small block that's a stroker engine. It's right behind you, and you can literally see it working as you're getting on it. Cruising around town, though, shockingly fun, shockingly easy, but you can definitely tell with this dashboard, if you've been in an 04, 05 GT, you can see the resemblance, the inspiration they took, because the speedo's all the way on your right, but when you're driving this car, the last thing you're thinking about is the speedometer, I promise you. So when you get in it, you're just focused on living, so that's the main thing. Just the tachometer in the middle, feels great, but you got all the switches on the dash, it feels like a race car. The sound is just incredible. Coyotes and stuff are really cool, but driving this thing around town is just, it's something else. What I like about the pull I did back there was, it's fun, it's planted, and here's the problem with driving a lot of vintage cars or restored cars. To me, a lot of the times, don't get mad at me, to me, it's a don't meet your heroes moment. And honestly, the Ford GT40, the body lines are completely timeless. It has AC, fun fact, and the AC controls are in the door, which is pretty weird. So you go over here and you hit it, and you're good to go. My favorite thing about the GT40 is its body lines. It's timeless, it looks great, its side profile is great, but when you look at the back of one of these things, it is so menacing going down the road. The first time I saw a sort of GT40 was a kit car, and it just didn't hit the same to me. And rev matching it's pretty easy, right? You can just cruise it around town, but then when you want to get in it and give it the sauce, it is it's something else. The other thing too is when you look up, the door notoriously with the GT40s goes all the way over, which is honestly the main culprit of why it's a pain in the butt to get in the car. You still have to do this weird technique where you kind of turn your butt, aim yourself, fall in, or you scoop your feet into the footwells and then you get nice. The other thing is the seats are fixed pretty much. So as soon as you get in, you're kind of doing this gangster lane like this. Oh yeah, also, the owner of this car, Eric, also has a matching guitar. Fun fact, no big deal. And what I love about the guitar is it has the scoops. It has the ram air scoops. And when you look into the scoops on the GT40, you can see the cooling system, which is really neat. Also, fun fact, the only other GT I've ever driven was a modern one. I skipped the middle one because they skyrocketed in value. So they're very hard to find and let people film, etc. What I noticed about this is that it still has the flying buttress that's on the newest one, but it's like that big, right? The newest one is this giant gap in the side panels. So blinker. The blinker is manual, so it does not go off by itself. So my doofus self is driving around with the blinker on for a while. The transmission, once you get the hang of it, it's great, right? At first, you're kind of like, okay, second forward where third would be, but then you get the hang of it, yeah, it's all right. Plus, third and fourth in this car, it's all you need. Like, you are moving at top of fourth gear. As somebody, I counted the other day, I added it up, I've done this for 12 years, I have driven 1,400 cars at this point, after all these years, done all the racing schools, but nothing was like a crown jewel as getting in a really well set up GT40. I mean, it sounds wonderful, it's carbureted, it has that old school feeling, but with the suspension, with the updates, with the standalone, with a standalone ECU where you can diagnose problems, that is where that perfect balance, that 50-50 balance, absolutely incredible. It was everything that I wanted. And I'm so glad it wasn't a don't meet your heroes like, oh, you know, it was small, it rode rough, all this stuff. No, it met all my expectation. And when you look at those bundle of snake headers, you know it's gonna sound good, but in person, I cannot describe the feeling that it puts through your body and straight as an arrow. That's the most impressive thing. When you're at top of fourth gear, straight as an arrow, all those years ago, they made this shape to be good at high speed at Le Mans, and it still works. And that's all I gotta say about that. The guys over at Downforce Motorsports have truly given me a masterpiece. I also wanted to highlight Downforce Motorsports' latest build, the Alan Mann GT1. It's the number 16 livery, and it's got a Roush 347R engine. It's a GT40 Mark I that's right-hand drive, and it just shows that Downforce Motorsports, with their custom specs, have really created an amazing product. It's been an absolute privilege to work with these guys, and the generosity of them letting me drive their cars has been incredible. If you didn't see it, definitely check out the Predator swapped Shelby Cobra they let me drive, which was also by Downforce Motorsports. But on that note, huge thanks to Eric for letting me drive his baby. He just got this thing, literally has like 127 miles on it, brand new build. Huge thanks to Downforce Motorsports for entrusting me to come out, fly me out and do this. And once in a lifetime experience. Super thankful for them. Super thankful for Eric and everything. And I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Goodbye.